Michigan State is advancing to the Sweet 16 after they just took down number 2 seeded Marquette. In this video, I'm going to share some post-game thoughts, some thoughts about the game coming up, and the USC game. And I apologize, I'd like to show highlights from the game, but I'm unable to as March Madness blocks everything on YouTube. First off, Michigan State was extremely clutch in the final 3.5 minutes of the game. I believe they went on like a 10-5 run, maybe 13-5 run the last 3.5 minutes. I'm unsure what it was, but Michigan State was extremely clutch, and obviously most clutch, Tyson Walker. Obviously Tyson Walker from the mid-range is crazy. It's going in 99.9% of the time, and his mid-range was on display all game. I mean, he wasn't missing from the mid-range, and when Michigan State was up by 5 in the final few minutes of the game, he hit that mid-range shot to go up by 7. I thought that was huge. Walker dropped 23 points. I can't wait to watch him against Kansas State. Next, staying in the final minutes of the game, Sissoko was so clutch. His blocks in the USC game and in this game were outstanding, unbelievable. That is just the defense for Michigan State today was a huge reason why they won. We all know the biggest story of the game was State shooting terrible from 3, 2 for 16, 12.5%, 2 for 16. Oh, terrible. But what I think really kept State in this game and allowed State to win this game was Michigan State's play in the paint and their defense. Michigan State's play in the paint, they were great with boards, and Tyson Walker obviously knocking down jumpers. And in Michigan State's defense, I feel like their performance wasn't anything super crazy or like something to remember best defense performance from all time, but I feel like it was good enough to where they made Marquette make a lot of mistakes. I feel like that's a really key part in Michigan State's win. Marquette had 16 turnovers and Kolek alone had 6. Now, some of these turnovers I feel like were forced by Michigan State playing good defense and forcing Marquette to make mistakes, but a good chunk of them was just Marquette being sloppy, and maybe it was because of Michigan State's good defense, but part of it for sure was just Marquette being sloppy. Now back to Michigan State not making any threes. What we heard during the game is, I'm sure many of you did as well if you watched it, Michigan State was 0-8 when making 5 or less threes when this tournament started. But since the tournament started, Michigan State is now 2-8 when making 5 or less threes in the game, as they made 5 against USC in one and made 2 against Marquette in one. The next thing I want to mention regarding both of Michigan State's tournament games, I feel like they've been pretty unlucky with the refs. We all know Izzo's always yelling at the refs and working his magic and just being the best coach of all time, but there was a few moments against USC and Marquette where Izzo looked extremely pissed off, and I was too. There was 2 scenarios I remember vividly against USC where it was a total flop from USC, and the refs called a foul on Michigan State both times. And today against Marquette, again, there was multiple instances where Michigan State was called for foul, and the replay showed no foul whatsoever, or maybe a foul that could go either way, but every time it was 50-50, it could be a foul or maybe a no call. It was called on Michigan State. So let me know if you also felt the same way. I feel like USC and Marquette were favored by the refs in both these games, but luckily in this game, it didn't matter whatsoever, as not only was Marquette extremely careless with turning the ball over, but they were extremely careless with fouling. In the second half, Michigan State was in the bonus plus extremely early, and there was a ton of fouls in the final minutes of the game, but Marquette just had a lot of really bad fouls on defense. It was pretty embarrassing. So we know that Michigan State can shoot the 3. They did it all season. What they say during the game that Michigan State had the 3rd best shooting percentage from 3 in the NCAA. It may not be the 3rd best, but it's high up there, and what are the chances that they only make 2 threes against Marquette and win? Some other thoughts and some other moments from the game. Walker's dunk at the end was super exciting, and the no goaltending call was huge. I think that was the best call the refs made all night, especially for Michigan State. I mean, thank the Lord they got it right. They went back and reviewed it and said that it happened simultaneously, so it wouldn't be goaltending, but I mean, the refs could have called it wrong, and it wasn't reviewable. So Michigan State got lucky that the refs actually made the right call for them. Or maybe I'm just being a biased fan and saying the refs sold for the other team, because I feel like a lot of teams, even when they win or lose, they just say the refs were biased for the team that their team was playing. That was kind of a lot there in that sentence, but I think it all made sense. And also another thing I feel like Marquette really struggled with was there was a few crucial free throws they had in the final minutes of the game, and they weren't clutch making them. So good fouls on Michigan State for making Marquette go up there and make 2 free throws. And I think besides the 3-point performance from Michigan State, it was all around a great game. They dominated from beginning to end. I feel like there's a little moments where you got a little worried. Obviously it's Michigan State, so we're gonna be stressing until the game clock hits 0. And obviously as a Michigan State fan, I was stressing the whole entire game. And Michigan State also loves to run the shot clock down, obviously, so I'm stressing every single possession. Like, get the shot up, please, get the shot up, get a good shot up, make the shot. But Michigan State did a great job jumping out to that early 13-point lead. Although Marquette did come back, State still dominated, and I felt like State was winning the entire game. Marquette only had the highest of a 3-point lead. But again, we've seen State hit the 3 before. They hit it all year, so State can just hit the 3 against Kansas State and play like they did in the paint. They should be looking pretty good, and that game's extremely winnable. Now, if we look back to Friday in the first round, Kentucky took down Providence, and the game was pretty close. Yeah, Kentucky won by 8, but they only outscored Providence by 1 in the second half, and Providence wasn't anything crazy. And Kansas State took down Montana State, and Kansas State won that game pretty well, but again, Montana State wasn't really like a big underdog people thought was going to win. And then the game just before Michigan State, Kentucky was taken down by Kansas State. I feel like Kansas State was kind of trailing in this game. I feel like Kentucky was kind of dominating, but I didn't really watch it too closely. I was multitasking, doing something else. But in the end, what I'm trying to say is I feel like Michigan State can definitely beat Kansas State. I feel like they haven't really shown us that they're super scary. I'm definitely not saying that it's going to be an easy game, but I think it's going to be close, and I definitely think that State could pull away and win by 8 or 9 points. To wrap it up, another great 2 wins, another great March Madness appearance by Michigan State and Tom Izzo. If I had to bet, I'd bet the Spartans beat Kansas State. Now, I don't want to and say that because I'm a Spartan fan and I'm just stressing that I'm going to get jinxed, and I don't know. If my non-bias opinion on the Kansas State-Michigan State game is that I think Michigan State's going to win, but I think it's going to be close. I really hope Michigan State wins as a Spartan fan as well. Anyway, that is going to wrap up this video. If you guys enjoyed my content, I would really appreciate if you could like and subscribe. It really helps me out a lot. And once again, thanks for watching. Go Green. There's also some crazy statistic that maybe it's not Tom Izzo. It's like the Big Ten teams are 31-1. Like they only have 1 loss in the first round as a 7 seed. So who didn't take Michigan State? I got State going all the way.